Hi everybody. This video that you're watching now is an effort to help you with your research paper. Before you watch this video, my suggestion to you would be to go into the research paper folder, which is on the left hand side of our D2L page. Pull out the instructions, which are the very first thing on the top. So when you open the folder, on the very top it'll say something like Research Paper English 2131 Spring 2015. Open that document up, and I would print up a hard copy so that you have it with you. And I want you to follow along with this throughout the course of this video so that you don't get lost. And we're going to go through this together. So I'll pause for just a second for you to print that up if you haven't already, and or you can go ahead and hit the pause button and then come back and let's continue this video once you have that. Okay, so I'm assuming now that you have a hard copy, or if not a hard copy, at least have it minimized in your window of these instructions. So let's try and make this clear. Here's the timeline. The timeline is that on Sunday, February the 1st, your annotated bibliography and your topic proposal are both due in the appropriate D2L drop boxes. That will be by midnight of that night. The reason for that is that I'm going to look over that annotated bibliography. I'm going to go through that proposal during that following week, and I'm going to see if you've actually got a pretty good idea of what you're going to do for your paper. What that also means is that you should have your research done by that time, because your first draft will be due the following Sunday. So today is the day that I'm releasing this video is actually the 12th of February, or 12th of January, excuse me. So because it's the 12th of January, that gives you a good 2.5, 3 weeks, something like that, in order to actually get your research done and to put together an annotated bibliography. Now, I'm assuming that your English 1101-2 teachers had you do annotated bibliographies. If they did not, then I have plenty of annotated bibliography help for you in the research paper folder in D2L. There is actually a handout from the Purdue OWL, a handout from IUPUI on annotated bibliographies, and then I have a sample annotated bibliography which I have put in there, which I have used to pretend, for example, like I'm doing my research paper on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which we're obviously not covering in this class. I want you to take a look at what's in there. It is a correctly formatted, MLA formatted entry, just like it's going to end up appearing in your Works Cited page. Folks, if you use the Cite tool in Galileo, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, because you're not going to be allowed to use Google on this assignment. Anybody can use Google. Google is not true research. I'm going to ask you to actually do some research. Galileo and Gil is how you get there. So if you use the Cite tool in there, all you got to do is a simple copy and paste, and you should get a perfect score on that portion of your research. So you should have that. There should be a paragraph saying what's in the article. For example, if you're doing your research project on, say, Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde, and one of the articles I think I have in there is something about the sedulous ape, you would say, this article explains how blah, 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 whatever it is it explains. So have a brief summary. Now, you may not have read the entire article by the time you actually get to the annotated bibliography. There's an abstract in there that you can use to guide you. However, do not copy and paste the abstract, because that would be plagiarism. So put it in your own words. Tell me what's in the article. And then another paragraph saying how you plan to use this article. So by the time you actually have to turn in your annotated bibliography, I should have given you some input already on the posting, which you're going to end up expanding in order to do your research paper. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So by then, you should have a pretty good idea of how you plan to use the article, as well as what's in it. So bear that in mind as you do your annotated bibliography. The topic proposal, basically you could almost take your posting and turn it in as a topic proposal as well. There will be something in there about the research, but really your topic proposal should be no more than a page, and when I get done reading your topic proposal, I should have a pretty good idea of what your paper is going to be about. All it's going to be is like I said, simply it's almost going to be like you're posting plus, through my research I plan to, whatever it is you plan to do with the research. And your annotated bibliography can help you with that. Again, look at my sample annotated bibliography in D2L for an idea of how this works. Because, I wrote that up in the thought in my mind that that's going to be your guide to tell you what I'm going to be looking for. All right. So on the 8th will be the first draft. Throughout the month of February, I'll workshop it, and then, I'll workshop it like during the week after the 8th. And then, of course, you'll have until March the 1st to turn in your final draft. I have to insist that you get it done by March the 1st because March the 3rd, you're going to be taking your final exam, and by March the 5th, I will have submitted your grades to the registrar. So you have to honor this March 1st deadline. In fact, the Dropbox on March the 2nd will shut down, and you won't be able to use it. And I am going to insist that you use the Dropbox. So I'm not going to be listening to any excuses. I know that this is kind of a turbo speed, but that's the nature of an a semester class, or an A-term class per semester. All right. So you can see that it will shut off immediately on the stroke of midnight when it goes from March 1st to March 2nd. Page length, 4 to 6 pages. That does not include your works cited page. Do not give me a 3-page essay with a works cited page and say, see, it's 4 pages. The works cited page does not count. So it's 4 to 6 pages. Assignment overview. You're going to take whatever posting it is that you did in week 2. Because remember, in week 2, I said don't do Roger Williams or Cotton Mather unless that's what you plan to do your research paper on. Now, if you do plan to do your research paper on those guys, then obviously that's who you posted on in week 2. But, or if you planned on doing William Bradford or one of the Spanish conquistadors, then week 2 is what you would have done in week 2. But whatever posting it is, you should have gotten my comments back by the time you start on your project. You're going to add your research to that. So you're going to take that little 2 to 3 paragraph posting and you're going to turn it into a research paper. Because all the posting is answering a question. But as you do research and as you expand upon that topic, you should come up with a good 4 to 6 page paper. So actually take the time to think about what you want to do in your research paper as you're doing the posting. So you will get my comments back on those. You will be bringing in the work of literary scholars. In other words, you're not going to go to Google. You're not going to quote from websites like BookRags or SparkNotes, CliffsNotes, any of that stuff. You're not quoting from any of that. You are actually going to use Galileo, or you're going to use books from our library, which you can get through Gill. And I want you to notice that the password for the spring for Galileo is trials. Like, if you went to court multiple times, you had several trials. That's what the password is trials. All lowercase letters. Don't forget that if you're off campus. And since many of you are taking this class online, I'm assuming that you're off campus. So that's how you'll do that. Simple rule of thumb. If you can find the site with a simple Google search, then don't go there. So what sources can you use? Here's what I want you to know. You can go to Galileo and use the articles that you find in there. You can go to Gill and find the books from the library, and you can use one of those. I will know if you used a source from Galileo because you will be able to use the cite tool. So again, like I said with the annotated bibliography, if you use that cite tool and just copy it and paste it into the works cited page, the database that you use will be listed there. The other thing you need to know is that it needs to be peer-reviewed. Here's what peer-reviewed means. Peer-reviewed means that other scholars or other experts on whatever it is you're doing your research on read this article and they said it's okay, it's worthy of publication. On Google, anybody can publish anything and put it out there and Google will pick it up. But that doesn't work that way in a peer-reviewed journal that you would find in Galileo. There, it's only published if other experts say it's good enough to publish. So, do peer-reviewed, and there are instructions in the Galileo handout that tell you how to do peer-reviewed. And click that, and then you can actually get an article that's worthy of In fact, if you click peer review, all of your articles will be worthy of using in this paper. If you struggle with Galileo, there's a couple of things you can do. One is, remember, you've got to take the MLA and the Used in Library Resources quizzes before January the 25th. That Used in the Library's Resources quizzes is about how to use Galileo and how to find whatever is needed in there, and how to use Gil and find whatever is needed in there. So use those as your guide to how to use. So take those quizzes first, and then you should know how to use Galileo. There are also handouts, like the library's handouts. There are also videos. So you can go into the library's website and go into what's called Lib Guides, L-I-B guides. There are videos in there of how to use Galileo. So use that. If you're still struggling and you're near my office on campus, you can still come into my office and say, Mr. Smith, I'm struggling, and I'll show you how to use Galileo. This is something you should have learned in English 1102 at the very earliest, or very latest, and I make my 1101 students use it. So Galileo should be a resource that you can use. If it's not, and your teachers have been letting you get away with Google before, that's not going to happen in this class. So make sure that you go into the library's website and use the Lib Guides. Watch the tutorial videos. Those tutorial videos are very helpful, I think. Use the handout that I have on in the research paper folder of D2L. All of those should be able to help you use Galileo. All of your sources must come from Galileo, and I'll know by looking at the entries on your works cited page whether they did or not. Okay? There's a minimum of 3 outside sources. So you will have 3 things listed on your works cited page, and you will have an entry for whatever your work is. I have included a sample directly from the textbook, and I don't remember what work I used. I think for A I used well, I don't remember, but there's a handout that is also included in an email that I've sent to you, and is also included in the research paper folder, where you can open it up, find your story, or find what volume it is, copy and paste it, and then you'll need to make the changes. So I know for B, I think I used one of the Nathaniel Hawthorne stories. So if you should choose Edgar Allan Poe instead, you would erase Nathaniel Hawthorne, you'll put in Edgar Allan Poe, you'll erase the birthmark, and you'll put in, say, The Telltale Heartbeat, and you'll erase the page numbers and put the correct page numbers in. So, so your works cited page and your annotated bibliography should have 4 sources, the 3 outside sources plus the source you're writing about. Okay. A reminder of what the essay consists of. It's in this little handout here. You can go over that on your own, but essentially you need a nice introduction that leads up to your thesis statement. Your thesis statement should, in one clear, concise sentence, tell me what the essay is going to be about. You should have topic sentences that have your main points, and your paragraph should fully develop those main points. And then you should have a nice conclusion that wraps everything up. Look at my expectations. It's in all bold, and much of it's in all caps. So I'm trying to tell you here, starting on the bottom of page 2, what my expectations are. So I expect that your research will supplement your argument and will not dominate it. Here's the thing. Your essay will be run through a Turnitin.com Dropbox. I will know how much of your essay came from outside sources. If you properly cite those outside sources, then you've done exactly what this assignment is asking you to. If you do not cite your outside sources, then you've committed plagiarism. And then you and I will be having a pretty vicious discussion. There's a percentage number, and you'll be able to see that. The Dropbox is set up so you can see it. In that percentage number, it should be 20% or lower. Listen to what I'm telling you. 20% should be quotations or less than 20%. So 15 is fine, 10 is fine, whatever. The rest of the paper has to be you. The rest of the paper has to be your argument. So that's the first thing about your expectation. I expect your research to be a supplement, not to actually dominate the paper. I do not want some kind of a summary. Do not say something like The Telltale Heart opens up with a guy asking somebody, well, why do you think I'm mad? Let me explain. And then he starts to tell the story about how he loved the old man, but he killed him because of his eye. And so one night, if you write that kind of an essay, you will fail the paper. I want an analysis, not a summary. The questions that I've asked on the discussion board are encouraging you to give me analysis. So take a look at those questions. Whichever question you've answered, that question should then be answered over 4 to 6 pages. So make sure that you answer the question, or that you give me an analysis, and do not give me a story summary. Number 3, your paper should be grounded in logos, not ethos or pathos. If you did not get this lesson before, logos, what that means is using logic. This comes from Aristotle. It's his 3 modes of persuasion. He had ethos, which is the ethics of the speaker, or the expertise of the speaker. Logos, which is using logic to make a point. And then pathos, which is trying to move the reader through the use of heavy emotions. We don't want heavy emotions, and we don't want you to say, well, I know what I'm talking about, or I'm an ethical guy, so take my word for it. We want you to use logic. Logic is done by presenting evidence and saying if you have premise A and premise B, you must come to conclusion C. That's what we want in these papers. I expect direct quotes from both your chosen story or poem, and I expect direct quotes from your journal articles. Do not give me summaries. I swear, I've never seen a student that did good on summaries, because oftentimes I never know where the summary starts, I never know where it ends, and a lot of times the summary will dominate the paper. So give me direct quotes formatted properly. If you don't know how to format properly, that's the purpose of the MLA quiz. It's in the My Blank English book, which you should still have from English 1102. It's in the web links that I have in the useful web links folder from the Purdue OWL, showing you how to do a short quote correctly and a long quote correctly, and cite them properly. All that's also in all 3 of those sources I just named. So make sure that you give me direct quotes, the formats are proper, and the in-text citations are proper. And then use specific details, don't be vague. When we go over the first drafts, I can tell you whether you're vague or whether you're specific or not. Okay? So, those are my expectations. Keep this handy and refer back to it as you write your paper. Alright, here's the rubric. First of all, quality of sources. If you got a bunch of Google sites, you'll probably fail the paper. If you've got good sources, we'll move on. 6 points is going to be MLA formatting. Do you have the proper MLA format? Do you have double spacing? Do you have no extra space between paragraphs? Do you have your header formatted properly? Do you have the right margins? Do you have the right font? All of that's worth 6 points. You can lose 6 points by having none of that correct. Thesis statement's worth 10 points. Here is a guideline, and it goes on into the next page, of what makes a good thesis statement. It should be clear. It should be concise. When I read it, I should know what the paper is going to be about just from that one sentence. It should be a 1-sentence thesis statement. You're only writing a 4 to 6 page paper. You're not writing a book. Organization and structure. Simply all I'm asking for is, does this essay have a good beginning? Does it have nice middle that's well developed? And the points are clear. It's clear what point 1 is, clear what point 2 is, clear what point 3 is. And does this essay have a good conclusion that actually serves the purpose of summing up, or basically tying the essay up in a neat little bow. Main and primary points, those are usually expressed in the topic sentences, and you can see I've used a baseball example here. So I'm going to say a certain baseball team is going to win the World Series because they have strong pitching, clutch hitting, and excellent fielding. Those are my major points that I'm going to make in saying that this team will win the World Series. And yes, I know that it's still football season and the Super Bowl's coming up, but I use this example year-round. Supporting details. In other words, do you have good, strong details that actually support your main points? Do you have them specific, or are they vague? Take a look at my little outline here at the top of page, I'm going to say page 5. The strong pitching was my main point. The details, good starters, good middle relief, and a solid closer. Clutch hitting, my points are the most RBIs in the league with runner on 3rd and 2 out. We have a guy that's heading for the Triple Crown, and we have the most comeback 9th inning wins. And then excellent fielding. Notice the details that back up the actual points. Quotations formatting, again, this is 10 points of your grade. They have to be formatted correctly, and they have to be cited correctly. Notice that I have a link here that you can follow And since you're taking an online class, you should be able to do that. Follow that link to this page, and it will show you how to quote and cite your quotations correct, or format and cite your quotations correctly. I can't stress enough. Look at that. That's an entire letter grade that you can lose by not doing that correctly. Works cited page. That is worth 10 points. Actually, I skipped one. Use of quotations. Here's what I mean by use of quotations. Do you use your quotations in a way that actually helps your paper? Or do you stick in 3 different quotes because Mr. Smith expects you to stick in 3 different quotes? If your quotations make sense and they actually help your point, then you get the full credit. If it looks like you just stuck a quote in there haphazardly because it's required, then you'll lose points for that. The works cited page, 10 points. If you use the cite tools in Galileo and Gill, you should get a perfect score on this, as long as you have it formatted in such a way that you got the hanging indent and the double space and all that stuff. Use those cite tools. Get the full points. Get the full 10 points. This should be the easiest 10 points of the whole thing. Most people say works cited page, what a bunch of aggravation. That's why you don't use Google. Google does not give you a citation for every website, but Galileo does, and so does Gill. So make sure that you use those, do a copy paste, and you should do fine. And then 24 points is grammar errors. If you have atrocious spelling, you'll lose points. If you're missing punctuation marks, especially commas, you'll lose points. If you have a bunch of sentence fragments, you'll lose points. It's just that simple. You are now taking your 3rd English class in college. That's assuming you didn't fail one of the first 2 and have to retake it. You should by now be able to write on a collegiate level. And you will be held responsible for writing on a collegiate level in this research paper, just like you're being held for responsible for writing on a collegiate level in the discussion postings. So please don't turn in a grammatical train wreck. If you lose all 24 of those points, you're going to have a hard time passing this paper. So proofread it. Use the Writing Center. That's what it's there for. Their strength at the Writing Center, which is in room C102, is in editing for errors. So make sure that you take care of that. All right, so that's the research paper. So I hope this video, and I hope this handout, and I hope all the materials I have in the actual folder will help you understand what's necessary for the research paper. If there's anything you still don't understand, you can email me, and I'll try to answer it in an email, or I may tell you you need to call me during office hours or come see me during office hours, because a lot of times I do my best work when somebody visits my office. So those might be the options you want to take as well. I try to make myself available as much as possible to help you on these papers, since they are so important and since it will take the next 7 weeks to get it done. So with that in mind, let me know if you need more help, and I hope that you choose a topic that you're going to enjoy. I've got a variety of subjects that you can choose from because I got a variety of readings. Again, using this brief summary, you can take a glance at what each thing is about, or each reading is about, and maybe find one that you want to write your research paper on. And you also have another resource called the Information Literacy Center, which is located on the back side of the library. Their job is to help people write research papers, so that could help you as well. So with that in mind, happy writing.